Hello and welcome. I'm Bailey Rivera, and in this video today, I'll be sharing my January 2023 planner setup with you. So let's just dive in. I went ahead and got started with the penciling in of my main structure of the planner. Since this part of my planner I am essentially using templated off of last year, I went ahead and penciled in that main grid, which is 8 squares or dots or spaces tall, and I use one space you can see kind of going down for the days of the week. So I wanted to make sure and get all of that sort of penciled in before I went ahead and began decorating the sort of memory keeping and journaling portion of the center, I think it's Dutch door spread that I use in each month's layout. I decided for my little tab on that Dutch door to use some round stickers to create the tab on the front and the back. And so to do that, I simply just laid the sticker over. You can see where I have a pencil line across, that's where I'm going to cut. And then I began cutting across the line and then carefully around the sticker. And then once that part was done and I created the door, I went ahead and started pulling some of my supplies and my markers based on the color of that sticker so that everything would beautifully coordinate for the month of January. And I pulled one of my calendar stickers out because I know I want to include that on each Dutch door this year, and somewhere on the front or back in the design. And then I will begin sort of decorating the memory keeping portion of this center door. Once I kind of got my colors and everything, I decided to flip it over and to get my other sticker for the other side of the tab. You can see how that works beautifully on front and back, and go ahead and get those to coordinate as well. And then so where you see kind of the tab and the Dutch door, this year I decided to, instead of having both of the weeks, I dropped them down, and I'm actually including my notes section up there so that when I start the month, that it's kind of a clean slate at the top when I look. Of course, it probably won't end that way because I'll make notes up there and stuff, but that way maybe I can avoid a little bit of the busyness that I had aesthetically behind the door last year. Now that I got everything prepped and my stuff pulled, I just go ahead and start diving into the collaging aspect of this layout. So I went ahead and used my stamps to stamp the name of the month, January, and I pasted on a little bit of ephemera and had pulled some stickers with some quotes on that I liked. With the brush end of the marker, I add my absolute favorite little lines, every other line to the right hand side of the page, which I think really ties well in with that that's behind the Dutch door. I think that looks really cool, how it flows together. And then I used my year at a glance to fill in the January calendar on this spread. And after the calendar was done, I added some little diamond stars and dots around January, and I had penciled in a quote that I had actually journaled last year. I do intend to include some of my own writings from the previous year, just times that resonate with me and that I want to bring into the new year. And then just a few keywords I also want to bring into there. You know, those silly Instagram sort of like find the words out of all of these letters. Well, the ones that I found I thought were pretty appropriate for bringing into the new year, like connection, strength, alignment, and health. And so I thought that'd be cool to include. And then to finish that, I just added another sticker. And then after that, I'd start diving into the actual nuts and bolts of my weeks. So to decorate them, because they're all going to be pretty much the same, I'm using little banners that will include the dates, date numbers, and then I used my gray brush marker to sort of make the boxes that include the days of the weeks a light gray. And so before I micron that, I want to go ahead and brush those in. The reason I do it in that order is just because if you brush over micron, you have to make sure it's super, super dry. And I've smeared it so many times that if I can remember to do it ahead of time, it's always ends up better. And I just use my 0.1 micron to do all of my boxes and to draw in my lines. Flipping to the second part of the month, half of the month, I again got some ephemera out of my treasure kit and started kind of collaging all of that together using an old note page that actually has the date January 28th on it, and I used a sticker, and then I'm going to go ahead and pre-plan a place to put in one of my little Polaroid Instax pictures. And then I'm just filling in with boxes and lines to complete the design of this page. I am also just simply bringing that diamond, star, and dot pattern into this backside as well to tie it together. And then one thing I found really useful from last year was to even give myself prompts for the boxes to fill in. I felt like it was a lot easier for me to fill out. So the one I included on this in the top box was my most common activity in this month. And then following the exact same recipe as I did for the first 2 weeks, I am including the last 2 weeks here on this next spread. The one thing that's a little bit interesting about my planner and my layout of planners, especially within the months, is that I have 4 columns to play with in my main area. And so obviously most months don't fall within that. So I actually will start the first Monday will be the second, and then I will just put the first in my notes or elsewhere, and then I will shift the last bit. So the last 2 days of January will actually be shifted to February, which we'll see in that setup. And I found that just this kind of troubleshooting, problem solving each month as I go actually worked out better than I thought it might last year, because I obviously had to do that as well. So you'll kind of see how I shift those things around as I progress through my planner. But I will say that is one disadvantage to this particular layout, is that there's not really room for multiple or any additional columns unless you move it into the memory keeping center, which I have done, and I will show you when I do have to do that. Turning to my next and last spread for the month of January, this is where I am putting my meal planner. So if you're curious what that sort of looked like from last year and how I laid it out, you can look at that video and I'll link it below. But instead of having a kind of meal planner in the middle of my journal this year, I am trying it at the end of each month, so including this layout after my planner spread. And I'm really excited to actually try that out. So I'm using basically the same exact plan as I had in my 2022 planner. So these columns are 3 squares high, and I found like it gave me enough space. It's not a ton, but enough space per day to do the planning that I need. And then you'll also see that I include a place to tape in my grocery list, which I found incredibly helpful and useful last year as I was doing this. So I really think not having to flip around from my planner all the way to like finding some random page in the middle of my planner for my meals will hopefully help me to utilize this more this year. So each side, the left and the right, will have, all of the days of the month in this 3 grids high plan. You'll see that I am doing that on both sides, and then all of the space around it I'll use to write down ideas and my things that I have on hand, groceries that I've purchased, veggies that I've gotten when it's gardening season, what is fresh in the garden. I can write what has come in the harvest. I can also make note of new recipes I want to try or did try and liked. So it does give me plentiful space around those actual planning areas to do all of those things. So again, I'm really excited to try this again this year, and hopefully the placement of it will help me utilize it even more. So I'm adding in little boxes with clipped corners, like you can see, as well as my favorite, just lining every other line to finish this spread. And with that, January is done, and I can go ahead and start filling in the things that I need to as we very quickly approach this time of year. I hope that you enjoyed that and that you found some inspiration for your own planner, and I hope you'll join me next time here on our channel. Till then, bye-bye.